We have done tulips. How many years? Yeah, it's our fourth or fifth year, I think. That must be five.
Yeah. So in those years, have you grown to appreciate growing tulips? We're growing them again,
Yeah.
but
What I found is we kind of change every year to try to get more efficient and
yeah,
to make our lives easier. But everything we do, the bigger you get, or like the more sophisticated you get, growing in bulk crates, it gets way more challenging. The growth curve's exponential.
yeah.
Way more things can go wrong, which we found out last year.
We don't want to talk about last year. You guys, what's the story? You having a little fun? Yeah? Do you have to yell like that? It's a little distracting. Yeah. Last year was challenging. That was our first year growing in crates, which obviously we're trying it again because we do believe in growing in crates because we've done some years of slogging around in the mud, in the spring, in the rain, in the clay, trying to pull bulbs, trying to pull our flowers, get the harvest done when the bulbs are sticking into the soil because of the type of soil we have.
Yeah, our first couple of years we grew right into the dirt, and it was really easy actually. It was challenging in the sense there's a lot of water. We had to dig in clay. We dug by hand. First year we dug by tractor. Year 2 and 3. But the real bad part of growing in the earth was harvesting the tulips. Yeah. Because Marie, when she wants to cut flowers, it's best if you can pull the tulip with the bulb. So you pull it right out of the ground, and now if that bulb's in some thick clay, you're not going to pull it, so you're going to break a stem, then you have a shorter flower length. And in the cut flower industry, flower length is everything. And also for us, with tulips, is storage. If you get it with the bulb on, you can dry store them in a cooler a lot easier. So we were struggling with that.
And then even if they are coming out okay, it's still a struggle because there's a lot of cleaning that has had to happen. We're basically running a hose, and it's just so much work. It would be full days of work for me just trying to keep up with the harvest and processing and getting them all in the cooler on time. And if you've grown tulips before, you'll know that once they start going, they go, and you have to basically babysit them all day long if it's a warm day. And we can go from a 9 or 10 degrees Celsius day right up into like a 20-degree day overnight, and then things just go crazy. So we've decided not to grow in soil anymore for those reasons. And the crate system has a lot of potential because how easy it is to harvest, how clean they come out. Basically didn't have to wash anything last year, which was amazing. And obviously very, very easy to pull the bulb, so the harvesting is way quicker. But we ran more into troubles more on growing, like the growing quality.
We grew in the ground. We had like really good success, high 90% return on our tulips.
Yeah.
Very few that died or didn't come up. Whereas when we started growing the crates, we had a lot of trouble. We didn't get very good percentages, and mainly our density was too high. We were putting close to 100 bulbs in crates.
That's what we figure. We did a couple things then that we're changing for this year. This year we're giving them almost more room than I'm comfortable with.
So we're going to do 50 per crate. Last year we did 100. Didn't work that great. So we're going to go with 50.
We're doing 50 more because we get these in lots of 100. So like the magic number is probably more like 80, right? Depending on the bulb size, but it's like,
maybe.
But just for
65, 70,
just for logistics, we have 100 bulbs per variety, or at least a minimum of 100. They come in lots of 100, so it breaks easily down if we're putting them in crates. We know we can't do 100 for most of the varieties, so then it's just simple to just go half, which is more room than they necessarily need, because the normal spacing on tulips would be what's that?
Kind of, you can leave just a bit of a space between them, kind of like that. You'd leave probably
just a bit of space,
half an inch between them, so a few centimeters.
So you actually pack them in quite tight. You would actually be going tighter like this. You'd want them actually pretty close to where they're close, but they're just not touching.
Yeah.
So we're kind of trying something new once again, I guess. But what we struggled with last year is we think that we were losing a lot just to rot because they were overpacked. And the other thing that we did different last year that we thought we would just try, and we didn't realize how big of an impact that it would have, was that we grew in peat moss and then we covered in peat moss, creating quite a really moist environment, especially in our humid climate. So this year we're going to be covering with sand.
Wet sand.
Yeah, just to keep the weight on the bulbs, but also to provide a lot more porosity, a lot more air, to hopefully prevent disease that we think we were dealing with last year. And then the other thing that we're going to change is last year we grew them in our hoop houses. And we think that the sort of still environment in there really just promoted for our climate, way too much humidity and moisture. So let's go over our supplies, how we're doing this exactly. So these crates are simply called bulb crates. These are used in the commercial industry. They're quite common. They are excellent because they have already built-in ventilation, which is just super important for the roots of the tulips and the health of the bulb. The substrate we're using, as we mentioned, it's peat moss. How much peat moss are we putting in here, Steve?
3 inches is the goal.
3 inches depth for the bulbs to be growing in. It's important to have enough there for the roots to get strongly established.
And tulips, you want to always put the point up. They will grow if you put them upside down. They'll still grow and they'll curve back up. But for cut flowers, the easiest is the point up.
Yeah.
It's going to make it a lot easier for harvest.
And then on top, we are layering enough sand basically to cover right up to the tips of the bulbs. If there's a little bit poking out, that's okay.
Another 50.
What do we got? What's this variety?
This one is Black Parrot.
Ooh, yes, this is a good one. This is a late one too, which I love. That's another whole entire game to play. Hey, Steve, it's trying to do the timing.
Yeah.
And the late ones, it's like something that we try to focus on because generally for our climate, we're trying to hit Mother's Day with tulips. By the time Mother's Day rolls around here, tulips are pretty much on the tail end most years. And the late tulips are either going to hit it dead on or they're going to even trickle in after Mother's Day. So I try to grow a nice variety of late Black Parrots. Last year for me, they were ready in time for Mother's Day. It's actually a fringe. It doesn't say that, but it's a fringe double. That's why we ordered it.
Fun.
Crispy and sweet. It's like, honestly, sounds like there's kids.
Yeah, we don't feed our kids enough.
What do we got this time? These are, oh yeah. These are drumline. These are doubles. I try to grow. I grow a lot of. Well, we like parrots, and parrots are amazing to grow. And I love the doubles. It's sometimes been a bit of trial and error, hey, to figure out like which ones have a big enough head on them.
Yeah.
Because when you're harvesting them tight, how they're supposed to be going out in bouquets. We all know tulips grow in the vase, but that means if you're harvesting a bud, you know, some of the varieties, the buds just look really small, and then it's hard to price them at what they need to be priced at.
Yeah, and our challenge is we looked at a catalog in the spring for deciding on tulips, and they'll tell you the approximate cut length and the bulb size, but it doesn't always translate perfectly for cut flower people.
That's
like my
true.
wife. So you don't really know how well it is until you actually start to grow them. You have an idea, but you don't fully know.
So it's like, you know, I've tried to grow sort of enough variety. Hey, farm kid number 2. I've tried to grow enough variety, but like that's kind of been problematic for us too, because we've found that as we grew more varieties, it's like you get to the point where you've got so many varieties that you're harvesting. Each variety has its own specific harvest time that you have to learn about. And it's not like you can just Google it. You really have to be really diligent and observing that. And then when you've got like too many varieties, it's also a headache just for storage, because you've got to kind of keep them stored within their varieties to make your life easier for production later down the line. So it's like been a sort of a fine balance of finding the right volume with enough variety to get the growth between like early, mids, and lates, but then not overwhelmingly. Like one year we did, I think, at least 40 different varieties.
The harvesting is the challenging part. Some tulips, they want to have a little bit of color on the bulb head when you harvest them. Others you need very little. So it depends on the variety.
Yeah.
So that's a real challenge.
It's so hard sometimes.
With like 40 or 50 different varieties.
And then just keeping up with all of them, because you've got so many different ones going on. And when they do hit, when tulips hit in the spring, when they start going, it's crazy. So the more varieties that you're trying to keep up with, it can be quite insane. It's actually, I don't have a huge love of growing tulips at this point. I think you're still hanging in there. You still want to try it. And it's been a good kind of a cash crop that sort of it's kind of all and then it's done. So there's been some good things about it. And people love the tulips.
Yeah,
so selling them, people love them.
I like the challenge. After we had a hard year last year, I didn't want to give up. I wanted to try something new, adjust our stocking density, try the sand on top. So I'm hoping we have a nice kind of product this year and a good, I don't know the word I'm looking for here. What's the percentage?
Yeah, well, we had quite a bit of shrink last year. We basically probably lost like at least probably 50%.
Yeah, and
just in the growing, and then you're gonna lose some anyways as it's a perishable product. You can only store things for so long. Yeah. So just the growth alone, we basically weren't gonna break even just with our losses. So that was pretty painful last year, especially because it was tons and tons of work. It wasn't like the work didn't go in, so the labor time went in. The sales time had to go in. Yeah. It was pretty painful.
And talking to our supplier, one thing to remember is you're never going to get 100% return on your tulips bulbs. Like even the commercial professional growers are only about 90%, 85, 90%. They were saying, and that's, even growing on, hydroponically in very controlled environments, you still have, certain tulip bulbs for whatever reason just won't produce. And these are expensive tulips. These varieties, we grow a lot of double peonies, so these are not the kind of tulips you see at the grocery store. So the bulbs are a lot more expensive, meaning we have to be very careful, again, talking about pricing, be really careful with when you have more expensive bulbs to make sure you are charging the right amount for your cut flowers and make sure your customers know that they're not the same tulips that you get from the grocery store.
Right. Yeah.
Smaller head tulip.
Yeah. It's almost like when we set out, it was like we decided we didn't want to try competing with the grocery store. Yeah, we didn't want to compete with the local flower auction, which has like thousands and thousands.
Tulips.
So how can we engage in this crop in a way that fits us, but also in a way that we're not actually competing with the really, really, really insanely cheap prices that are happening?
We're 1, 2, 3 short, and then 2, 4, 6. What the? Hey, you suck at this. You really suck. Oh my gosh.
Am I fired?
Well, not quite, but you basically shouldn't talk. I count them for you too. 4, 6, 8, 9.
So yeah, no, I think Steve's realizing he would have done better without my help on the tulips. But I hope you found this video helpful. We covered a lot in this video, but we couldn't cover everything. So if you have questions, definitely drop them in the comments and we'll get back to you. And if you could do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button for us, that would be super awesome. Thanks so much. See you next time.